Welcome to my show, simply entitled Women Influencers. I am Veronica Malolos, CCIM, founder and CEO of the Capstack Group of companies, providing commercial real estate development, brokerage, and property management services in the greater Orlando area. My next guest is Sandy Tush, executive in residence at Milestone Leadership, whose mission is to build leaders worth following. She is an amazing facilitator, coach, and a leader in adult education. Please don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe below. I welcome your comments and please share with someone who can benefit from this podcast. Hi, Sandy. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Veronica. How are you?
I'm great. It is the tundra here in Florida, even though it's 54 degrees. Actually, maybe it's even 74 degrees out, but we don't know how to dress for Floridians in cold weather. Now, tell us where you are.
I'm in Bentonville, Arkansas, and we are coming out of a recent tundra. It's actually pretty nice here today. I'm enjoying the sunshine.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I want to thank you, Sandy, for being with us today on this podcast. And if you don't mind, I just want to dive right in. Tell us about your story, how you grew up in your environment and how you got to where you are today.
I grew up on a farm in Kansas and, deep roots in the community, what you would expect, some family nearby. I remember important things growing up or around family, community, education, sports. We also were not far from Wichita, Kansas, so we had access to malls, restaurants, live theater. So it was a great way to grow up. I appreciate that. And I went then to Kansas State University and started with an engineering major. Pretty quickly figured out, I don't think I want to be an engineer, and changed my major to computer science along with math education, and enjoyed the computer science. Did a little teacher aiding at a middle school and thought, I don't think I want to teach math at that level or even a high school level. So focused on the computer science major. Graduated from Kansas State when I was 21, and 2 weeks later got married, moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma. Lots of change. Was looking for a computer programming job, and instead there was a role that came open at Tulsa Community College for a full-time computer science faculty member. And I thought that would be my dream job, but I'm not qualified. It says master's degree or equivalent experience, and I just got my bachelor's degree. I have no experience, but was able to get an interview and did get that job.
Probably awesome. You're a Midwestern numbers girl.
I am. And like I say, got this dream job, and probably didn't hurt that the division chair was also a Kansas State grad and also did some high school football officiating, just like my husband and my father-in-law. So there were some connections. It does help to get in the door so that you can try to prove yourself. And I was in over my head. I can tell you that. It was a very stressful first year in that job, but I had a ton of support from that division chair, from my colleagues, from my husband. But it was rough. I cried a lot. Probably could have used some mental health counseling, but did not seek it, toughed it out, but got my feet under me, enjoyed that job very much for 17 years, became a mom in the middle of that. And when our daughter was 12, we moved before my husband's career to Bentonville, Arkansas, where we still are now. And I thought, I'm 39 years old. I've worked full time quite a while. Maybe I'll just consider myself retired. So I was full in soccer mom. I took on a volunteer position at church, and that was fine, but I missed my professional life. So I did some part-time teaching at Northwest Arkansas Community College in their computer area. Got to do some contract technical training for Walmart. And while I was there at Walmart, got to know their leadership development people, hung out some with them, and got very much interested in that. And about the time my daughter was old enough to drive herself to all of her activities, I went to work for Walmart full-time in their leadership development area. So got to make a fantastic career change that I have enjoyed very much. And then I went from Walmart to what was then called Soderquist Leadership. And we were a part of John Brown University, a center on the campus, and really enjoyed that leadership development work. executive coaching, facilitation, and so forth. And in 2020, we spun off from the university and became our own little company. We had already rebranded to Milestone Leadership in 2018. And then in 2020, spun off and became our own little company.
Well, 2020, wasn't that the shutdown?
The
That's
same
awesome.
time that we figured out how do we move everything we do, which really focused on bringing people into a space together, to learn and grow together. How do we move that all virtual? So in the midst of all that, we also spun off and became our own little company. It was a wild ride. And I thought at first I just wanted to do the creation and delivery of our services, that I was not interested in being one of the owners of this new little company. But after several conversations, said, okay, I'll do that. So 3 of us became the owners of this new little company. And through the effort of us and the rest of the team, we did build the back end of a business. And I will be forever grateful to JBU's IT staff. A couple of them especially walked me through everything it took to unwind all of our IT, all of our storage, all of our technical needs out from the university. Also, we needed accounting, we needed human resources. And so we built all of that. And I'm very proud of how that went.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah. In 2024, as we started that year, I said, and I had given the other 2 partners plenty of notice, but I said, now it's time for me to actually do the client-facing work and not help run the back end of the business. That's the next step I'd love to take. So that's what I've done. And now I get to keep all of the fun client-facing work, which I still love. But when it's time for who are we going to hire? What should we pay them? How should we market? Is our IT stuff what it should be? I'm like, that's your concern now. It's not mine anymore. And my team even gave me a really fun little gift as I made this transition. It's a candle that says on the label, smells like it's not my problem anymore. And it says, hashtag happy retirement, Sandy. So as I retired from that portion of my work, we laugh that while they're having team meetings, partner meetings, making big decisions, I burn my candle and prepare for my next client-facing work.
That's amazing. And that's how I met you, Sandy. Actually, it was last year during the strategic planning for CCIM Institute. And it was such a great experience. And I was just so happy to be called back and experience you again, also with the JWL leadership class with CCIM. So I'm so grateful to have met you and got to know you. I wanted to shift to a different topic and ask you about a challenge that you overcame. You spoke a little bit about probably some challenges that you had when you first got a very stressful job. So you want to speak a little bit about that and how you overcame it?
Definitely. Yeah, that was a rough time. I was crying every evening at home, my poor brand new husband. And I had so much support from my colleagues and from him. I would say that is how I made it through that. Probably could have used some professional help, but didn't even consider seeking it. The challenge that really along those same lines was worse was in 2009 and 2010. I've always had a bit of an anxious streak and I worry more than I should. And through that time, it really got the best of me. There were pressures both personally and professionally that I was not doing well with. And so I did finally seek the help that I needed. Medicine, counseling, again, tons of help from colleagues, family support. I ended up taking a few weeks off from work during that time. And I know that was hard on my colleagues covering for me. And again, they were so supportive. So that's probably the biggest challenge I have faced. And that's how I got through it. I say that help from a lot of people and even allowing myself to accept the help that I needed through medicine and counseling. And I've always been really athletic. And through that time, I tell you, I ran a lot.
Thank you for allowing yourself to be vulnerable and sharing that. A lot of people hesitate to share about issues that they may have experienced with mental health. And surely people out there who are listening today, that is a very good story that speaks about the power of, like you said, being able to, number one, admit that you need help. And secondly, more importantly, is to seek the help that you need to be able to overcome such a challenge. So thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that.
I'm sorry, I'm just going to share two more points along those lines. One is I had a counselor say to me once, she said, the longer you fight where you are, the longer you will stay there. And I
Yeah.
thought, oh my goodness, she's right.
Yeah.
And also, when we go through something like that, it really gives us the opportunity then to help other people. And it took me a few years to be willing to talk about it openly. But I have finally come to the point of saying, how will I be able to help others as they go through similar experiences if I'm not willing to share what I went through?
Absolutely. And you know what? Great segue into the next question, which is about influence. And I wanted to ask you if there was one thing that you're most proud of that you had influence on and the impact that it had on someone or an organization or a multitude of people or even one, what would that be?
One is obvious with the creation of our little company. So I'll cite that one, but I would also move to what I'm probably more proud of. I tried to think, what are the things that really I've been able to be of the most help to others? And I think my opportunities to influence hiring decisions and to help others to really up their game in the way that they go about hiring practices. When I got that job at Tulsa Community College, I finally got my feet under me. 3 or 4 years in, I got courageous enough to ask that division chair. I said, what possessed you to take a chance on me like you did? And he said, do you remember during your interview when I asked you about your farming operations and you drew a picture of a center pivot irrigation system for me and you explained it to me? I said, oh, yeah, I do remember that. He said, I knew then that you would be a great teacher. And I thought, well, that's brilliant. How do you draw out from someone what they bring to the table? And when I was at Walmart, I got trained in and helped train others in behavioral interviewing and was able to bring that over then to Soderquist. And so I've been able to be influential in some hiring decisions, to be able to gather data points and try to draw people into a space where they could express their aspirations, watch them light up with their passions and their skills and figure out how that lines up with the needs of the position. So I'm really glad to have been able to do that influence.
Well, and you should be, because not only is it a scientific approach, it had a tremendous impact on the companies that you had coached or advised, or however you call that service, and also had a great impact on the people that got hired. So wonderful, wonderful influence for sure, because that is a great impact that I'm sure had reverberated around so many different aspects of what you do. So let me ask you, Sandy, if there was one piece of advice that you could give to our audience today, what would that be?
I would say find your passions. Where do they lie? Figure out what you're naturally good at and what you're willing to work to become good at, and go after it. And also stay open to the things that you never saw coming, the unexpected opportunities. In my case, there I was trying to find a computer programming job, and boom, this dream job at TCC shows up. And I almost didn't even pursue it because I didn't meet the stated qualifications. But I was able to get the job. And I, through my faith lens, I really believe that, God has directed a lot of my journey when I've said, where do you want to use me in the world? I want to be of service. But regardless of what your faith perspective is, each of us is uniquely equipped and uniquely positioned to be of use in the world. So try to figure out where that is. And when your passion just won't let go of something, see if maybe that might work out for you, like my job at TCC did. Same thing bringing us to Arkansas. That was an opportunity that my husband said no to, just like I had originally thought to the Milestone Leadership job. I don't want to be a partner. He's like, I don't want that job in Arkansas. But we feel like this is where we're supposed to be, and it has worked out very well. So again, I'd say pursue your passions, work hard toward them, and be open to those unexpected opportunities that you don't see coming.
I love that. Totally love that, Sandy, for sure. I think we've come to the part of the interview where I get to pass on the mic to you and you get to ask me a question.
Well, first of all, I admire so much the accomplishments that you have. And as I look and think, oh my goodness, she started a commercial real estate firm. She created a podcast. My question is, how did you develop the courage and the confidence to do those things?
Well, thank you for the question, Sandy. I do appreciate that. It's a little bit different from the 65 questions that I've gotten from my guests. So I want to tell you that, and this is a sort of a background to my answer, because when we were in New Orleans with Milestone Leadership and you were moderating together with your colleague Stephanie, you had asked us to write our personal values. And funny enough, you mentioned that just a few seconds ago. So one of my personal values is openness. And I always want to be open to opportunity, open to ideas of other people. I am so very curious. And so as I put myself in situations where I'm surrounded by very motivational, very inspirational people, I am able to gather my confidence because other people have trekked that before. So I belong to this women's group, which is called Power Beacons, which is a group that I got invited to about 2 or 3 years ago. And it's really just founders who are women, founders of their own companies like me. And most of these women, not most, but a lot of these women had gone into podcasting like 2 or 3 years ago. And I thought, wow, what a great idea. If they can do it, I can do it too. And so that's where, number one, I got the idea and I got the confidence because they did it before me. I'm not the most creative person, to be honest with you. I'm not innovative. And so I just like it when other people are successful in things that they've tried. And I always tell myself, look, if I try it, I could be successful too. And perhaps if I'm not successful, I could learn a thing or two. And so the confidence that I got is just from other people and seeking and being open to their motivation and their inspiration because they've done it successfully before. So that would be the answer to your question. And I want to thank you, Sandy, for spending the time with us today. If somebody from the audience wanted to connect with you, what would be the best way to do that?
I would say an email to stush, like Sandy Tush, at milestoneleadership.com. And I would love to hear from anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. And there could be those of them who would be interested in the leadership training that you do as well with Milestone and perhaps just hit you up for just an answer to a maybe a simple question. So are you open to that? You're okay with that?
Sounds good.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we want to thank you again, Sandy. And I just really admire you. And I want to thank you for being a part of our podcast today. Do you have some parting words, perhaps, before we say goodbye?
Just thank you so much. I would say that we are in a mutual admiration club. And I do appreciate very much the chance to be on with you today. Thank you, Veronica.
Well, thank you. I'm sure I'll see you very soon. Take care.